Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. On this channel we talk about all things fandom and we talk about them in a positive way. And if that's something that appeals to you, you know you've come to the right place. So today we're going to be doing our complete breakdown of Creature Commandos episode 5. It will have spoilers and we will let you know what we think is going to happen. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so we've got to talk today about Creature Commandos episode 5, and so far this series has been pretty good. Now I do want to address something. This series has been picked up for a season 2. So already we know it's good enough that it's getting a season 2. Now I have seen a lot of people talking about how James Gunn is apparently not happy with Superman, the movie, and telling you not to see it. I've also heard these reports that there have been test screenings that are just horrible and have people worried, that the studio's worried, that everything's dire and horrible, and this is so untrue. This is just the beginning of what James Gunn has in store for us, and we don't know what him and Peter Safran are planning. But the television part is more or less run by Peter Safran. Now, Creature Commandos was made by James Gunn, and yeah, he's done a good job of bringing these characters from the comics to life. Now, are they exactly the way they are in the comics? No, of course they're not. But any adaptation on TV, screen, movie, or otherwise is not going to be an absolute true adaptation of the characters themselves. There's always going to be things they change or things that they elaborate on that were never elaborated on before. There's always going to be those little things that make it into it that we've never read in any comic book in existence. That's always going to be something that happens. But you have to look at the characters themselves and what is going on with the characters themselves. You have to ask yourself if it's going to be a fun adventure. And so far, this series has been a fun adventure. And it is a nice start to the new DCU. At least I think so. And a lot of other people seem to think so too. So I will warn you that this will be a complete breakdown of episode 5. And if you are not watching this series yet, I urge you to watch it. And if you have not seen episode 5 yet, I urge you to stop the video and watch it and then come back. We'll go ahead and wait for you here. And if you are still here listening now, then I assume you either have seen it or you don't care about spoilers, in which case let's break down episode 5 of Creature Commandos. So episode 5 of Creature Commandos is called The Iron Pot. And it opens up in 1831 following the incident we saw before at Victor's mansion, where Eric had killed Victor. And now we see Eric is found by an old medicine woman who nurses him back to health. And after making a full recovery, he of course wants to go after his bride. Now, she tells him that his bride doesn't love him and that it's not worth him going back, which he is not down for hearing. If you know anything about the Frankenstein character in the Mary Shelley book, or anything about the actual character within the DC Comics, you know that they kind of have a love-hate relationship, him and the bride. And it is sort of played up. In the comic books, she doesn't like him very much most of the time. And in this, she doesn't like him very much. But this old lady's trying to convince him that she doesn't love him and isn't worth his time, and he'll find someone that actually will love him. Of course, he isn't down to hear this. And she tries to tell him that she don't want to be alone. So Eric then proceeds to kill the old lady so that she won't be alone. Now, technically, she wouldn't have been alone because she has a dog, which Eric locks out of the house while he's killing her because he says he couldn't do it. He couldn't, the dog wouldn't understand. So he then takes the dog with him. The dog is now his dog and they walk off. presumably to find the bride in another place and search her out. Now, in the present, we see that Eric and Flag are investigating the McPherson home and find her corpse, leading them to realize that the McPherson who spoke to Waller was in fact not McPherson at all. This is someone else entirely. So Rick Flag calls the princess to warn her about Task Force M returning to assassinate her before the fake McPherson returns home. Now, I had previously said that I thought that the main enemy of this wasn't going to be Clayface. That Clayface was not going to be the main enemy of the series. That we were going to face someone that maybe he was working for or something like that. Well, apparently McPherson is revealed to be none other than Clayface. So that means that the princess is truly the evil one that the Task Force M believes she is. And if this is true, then that also leads us to believe that there is a much bigger threat at hand. And so Rick Flag Sr. and Eric attempt to sneak out, but are caught by Clayface, and there's a battle. Now, Clayface is no slouch in this battle. It's actually a pretty decent battle. All of the fight scenes in this show have been pretty good, and this one is no different. They kind of get knocked around, beaten up, and you wonder if they're going to get out of here. And of course, ultimately, they do, but we know, from comic books that Clayface hasn't met his end, even though by the end of the battle, it kind of seems he might have met his end, because Eric actually electrocutes him. Now, it turns out that Flag is critically injured. And before passing out, and here's the thing, we're meant to think that potentially that Flag dies, that Rick Flag Sr. dies in this episode. We're actually meant to think that. It looks really bad. And he kind of loses consciousness. And before he does that, Flag convinces Eric to tell the bride the truth. Meanwhile, Task Force M is being escorted by the princess's knights, but is forced to battle them after they are ordered to stop the group at all cost. So right there, we have a scenario where now we know that the princess isn't on the up and up. Even though it looked that way for a second in this episode, like she could be in actual danger, like whoever Clayface was imitating was also manipulating a situation. Their boss, Clayface's boss, was manipulating the situation. That no longer looks to be the case. If anything, Clayface's boss may in fact be the princess in this situation. And that would be crazy too. I actually do think that the princess is going to turn out to be the big bad. And I don't know who the character is in terms of comic book characters, if she is in fact working under someone or she's got some plan that maybe she is just the enemy that starts up things for the DCU and then never appears again. We don't know really what's going on, and there is still the possibility that it's a misunderstanding and she is in fact a good guy and Task Force M could come very close to killing her. Now, I don't think that's the case because honestly, it's all stacked against her. She looks like she is the enemy. We saw that the predictions showed that she was the enemy in a previous episode. We've seen too much going on to think that she's a good guy. The only one who still believes that she's a good guy is Rick Flag. Eric doesn't know her at all. So where do I think this episode is meant to take us in the future? Well, that's kind of the thing. You have now a situation where you only have 2 episodes left. They only have 2 episodes left of this series, and then it's over until season 2. With this series only having 2 more episodes, I think they're going to take it to a very, very action-heavy conclusion, definitely. I think that last episode is going to be insane. But I don't know how this ends, really. I know that the princess is probably turning out to be the big bad, or she is working directly for a big bad that wants her in power for some other reason. Something is happening here where she is going to be doing all the stuff they saw in the future, and it shows. This episode, if anything, kind of hammered in the point that she was the bad guy, at least for me, and I would be completely shocked if we find out that she's not. If we find out it's all a misunderstanding now, that's going to be an absolute shocker. And it's one that I don't think is needed, and it's one I don't think we're going to get. Knowing that the princess is the enemy now, this late in the season, allows for us to finish up the story and not really be concerned with bringing in someone new at the last minute. And I think that's the way they're going to go. Ultimately, they are like a Suicide Squad team. So they do go on missions that don't have to be the big ones. They don't have to face the biggest enemies. They don't have to do that. And I don't think we're going to get to see them do that this season. Now, of course, with season 2, you know they're going to have to up that action level. They're going to have to do something more action-packed in the second season. So I think we will see a bigger enemy there. But I actually do think that the princess is going to be our big bad. And don't count her out yet, because even though she doesn't seem powerful, we saw in those little predictions made by Cersei that she is in fact really powerful. So I think we're going to get to see her do some crazy things in the last couple episodes. But that is where I am going to leave it off to you guys. I want to know what you guys think about this. If you saw this episode, did you get the vibes that the princess is the big bad? Do you think that Clayface is working for the big bad and it's someone completely different and they just want her in power? Or do you think this is all a complete misunderstanding? Did you like this episode? Did you hate this episode? Whatever the case may be, I want to hear from you guys. As always, we want to know what you guys think, so make sure you are leaving us that comment in the comment box below, letting us know what you think. Also, don't forget to share this video with all of your friends. They're going to want to be a part of this crazy conversation as well. And then make sure you hit that like button. It's free, it helps the channel, and we really do appreciate it. Then Miko says we need more subscribers, and look at this face. You don't want to disappoint Miko, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell while you're down there so you don't miss a single video we do. Then friends, at the end of the day, I know it, you know it, and Miko knows it. Fandom is family.